everyone, my name is Heather Schochner and I'm the owner of Iowa Yorkie Babies. You're watching this video because you're getting ready to pick up your new Yorkie puppy from us, so I know that you're excited. So first, I think it's important that you know a little bit about me. So if you haven't had a chance to read our website, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. So I've been raising Bernese Mountain Dogs since 2006, and I know you're here to pick up your Yorkie puppy. So you might be thinking, why does she have big dogs and little dogs? So I'm going to tell you. So back in 2015, I had been married for probably 10 or 11 months, and I was working in accounting, and I was extremely stressed. I mean, extremely stressed. I was literally crying over laundry one day. And I would come home from work, and I didn't want to be with people. I would spend the rest of my day with my dogs. I just didn't want to socially engage with anyone. I didn't want to hang out with my family. I just wanted to be with my dogs. Well, one day my husband looks at me and he says to me, well, maybe you need a little dog. And my very first reaction was, I do not want a little dog. They're barkers, they're annoying, they're yippy. I do not want a little dog. You know, that was my impression of them. Well, now it's in my head, right? So I start researching little dogs. I looked up the Maltese, Boston Terriers, Pomeranians, and then I got to the Yorkies. And it said that they were loyal and smart, not barkers. And so that got me thinking, okay, well, maybe I need to look at the Yorkie a little bit harder. And I found a breeder. They were probably 2 hours from us or so. And I told my husband, I want to go look at these Yorkie puppies. So we made the drive, and she brought out, I don't know, 6 or 8 puppies or so. And we sat in the yard with them, and I was sitting in the yard, and this little girl comes up to us, and she was bigger. Now, it was really important to me that we had a bigger Yorkie if we were going to take one home, because at the time I think we had about 6 burners in the house, and the smallest one was 80 pounds. So all I could imagine was if we had this 2 or 3 pound Yorkie running around, that this puppy was dodging big dogs all day. So if we brought one home, it needed to be sturdy. So this little girl walks up to me, and she lays by my foot. And we were there for probably 20 or 30 minutes, and all these puppies are running around and being puppies, except for this one little girl. And I'm petting her, and she just lays there right by my foot the whole time. And I really feel like that day, this little girl puppy picked me. Like, she just knew that I needed her, that my soul needed her. And so we walked away, and we put our deposit down on this little girl Yorkie. Who would have ever thought that this woman who was so opposed to little dogs just put a deposit down on this little Yorkie? So about a month later, we picked her up and named her Amaya. And I cannot explain to you what this crazy Yorkie puppy did for my soul. I mean, she changed my life, because now I raise Yorkies, and we tell her all the time, Amaya, if you wouldn't have been so amazing, we wouldn't have all these Yorkies. I mean, I feel like this dog saved my soul, and that is probably an understatement. She is an amazing dog, and little dogs do something for your soul that a big dog can't, and the big dog does something for your soul that a little dog can't. If you want to cuddle, you go to the big dogs. If you need somebody to make you laugh and play dress up, you go to the little dogs. I mean, they both feel something in my heart that the other ones can't. And until the day I die, I will always have a burner. And until the day I die, I will always have a Yorkie. There's something so amazing about what she did for my soul that I just can't even really put into words. So that's why we have Yorkies. So burners were my dream since I was 12. And my little Amaya May saved my soul. And that's why we have both. And that's why we will have both until I physically cannot do it anymore. So that's the story. When I tell people I have Bernese Mountain Dogs and I raise Bernese Mountain Dogs and I also raise Yorkies, I always get a look like, okay, why the big difference? Because they do something different for my soul. And I don't know that I could live without either one. And that's the truth. So enough about that. I can't believe that story almost made me cry. I'm such a wimp, right? Anyways, so you're coming to come pick up your puppy, which is so exciting. And I honestly hope that your new puppy does for you what my Yorkies do for me. There is something that makes you want to spoil them and dote upon them and dress them up in frilly little dresses and or suits if you're getting a boy. There's just something special about them. And I truly do believe that. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't raise Yorkies if I didn't think that that was the truth. So I hope that your new Yorkie puppy that you're picking up from us in a couple of weeks does for you what mine do for me, because there's nothing like it. They're brats sometimes, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just can't do this one more day. And then they do something that makes you laugh, or do something that makes you go, oh my gosh, and melts your heart. And they're just, you'll see. Okay, so moving on. When you pull into my driveway, you're going to pull up to the green building. That's where me and your puppy will be. So your puppy will have a bath, they'll have their nails clipped, and they'll have their butt shaved, which I'll explain in a little bit. But they'll have that done several times before you pick them up, because you'll have to take them to the groomer, and you'll want them to be used to those things. So what I've done is I've printed off the first page of everything that goes in your puppy packet so that you can see what those things look like. And if you think of any questions while I'm going through this material, you can either jot those down and we can go through them when you pick up your puppy, or you can email them to me and I'll gladly respond before you get here. So, okay, first thing that we're going to talk about and that is in your packet is what I call your transition letter. It looks like this. It starts with the word congratulations. This has a lot of information in it that I'm just going to kind of go through real quick. So first I'm going to say, when you come in, your puppy is going to probably be what I call Yorkie scared. It's very common. They shake, they're nervous, but they're 1 or 2 pounds when you pick them up. Everything is really big, and now you're a new person. So don't worry too much about it. I always tell people it's a really big world and they're a really tiny little puppy. They do move on from that the more exposure you give them to things, but don't start off taking them everywhere with you, because for one, they don't have all their shots. They don't have all their shots until they're 16 weeks old. So don't take them to Petco, don't take them to PetSmart, don't take them to the dog park, because you never know what they're being exposed to. So wait until they have all their shots before you do all those things. Okay, back to the transition letter. So the transition letter talks about a lot of things. For one, your puppy has to be an inside pet. We live in Iowa. If you live in a cold climate, they're just not cut out to be an outside dog. So absolutely, this puppy has to be an inside pet. In the wintertime, they must wear a coat. I know that sounds like crazy, especially if you've never owned a little dog before, but they have to have a winter coat. And even in the wintertime, sometimes they have to wear a sweater. Or in the summer, when your AC is running full blast, sometimes they have to wear a sweater. They get cold. Their hair is like our hair. It does not keep them warm. So very important things to know. If you keep your puppy's hair coat long in the wintertime, they're going to get matted underneath their armpits. So that's something to keep in mind too. How you keep them groomed depends on where they mat. So then, speaking of the groomer, if you keep their hair coat long, they're going to have to go to the groomer about every 8 weeks, and you will still need to brush them in between. If you keep them shaved, they'll have to go about every 3 or 4 months. Shaving definitely keeps down on the maintenance in between the groomings. I tried to keep up on all my dog's hair while it was long. It became overwhelming, but I also own 8 of them. So, I mean, it was a lot of maintenance for one person to try to keep up on. So I ended up shaving everybody but Amaya. Amaya has very easy hair to keep up on. but everybody else ended up getting shaved. I just couldn't keep up on the maintenance by myself. Okay, number 2, speaking of outside, you will have to be aware of predators. So your puppy, even at 5 or 6 pounds full grown, you have to be aware of hawks and eagles, big vultures. They could come down and swoop up your puppy. So it's always safest for them to remain on a leash, that they always remain supervised at all times. If they go outside unsupervised, make sure that they're in an enclosure with some kind of roof line on it, things like that, because it will just take a fraction of a second, and it could be lunchtime. I'm not kidding. This is a very serious thing. Things that you do not worry about when you have a big dog. So we do not recommend that you put your puppy in a kennel. I do not think that puppies at this age can hold their bladder long enough to be in a kennel. So what I recommend is a playpen. So you put their food and water, a couple toys, and puppy pads, and this training spray. So in the email that I sent to you, I recommended that you buy this training spray. It's made by Master Paws. You buy it at Menards, which I know is crazy, right? A home repair store sells this. It is the best that I have found. It really does attract them to go on the puppy pads. I send you home with a couple puppy pads already sprayed with that, but make sure you buy that because it seriously is the best that I have found. So if you could put your puppy in a playpen or in a room with that kind of similar setup, that really is the best for them. Another thing about food and water is that these puppies can suffer, and adults can suffer from hypoglycemia, which is a drop in blood sugar. So you'll want to make sure that they have access to food and water all the time. If that does happen, the symptoms are shaking and lethargy. So they'll get really tired, they'll shake. If that happens to you right away, you need to put Caro syrup on their gums. If you don't, usually they'll come right out of it if you use the Caro syrup. If you don't catch it in time, it's an emergency and they need to go to the vet right away. In the years that I've been raising Yorkies, it's only ever happened to one of my puppies. She called me right away. I knew exactly what it was. She used the Caro syrup and the puppy snapped right out of it. But if you don't catch it in time, it is an emergency and they need to go to the vet right away. Another thing that happens with these babies is they get poop stuck to their butt. So that's why we shave their butts. And your groomer will do the same thing, but you will need to watch it. So just kind of keep their butts clean, keep an eye on it, because otherwise they won't be able to use the bathroom. So that's really important. Okay, so the next thing that's in your packet talks about dog food. So we use Purina Pro Plan Toy Breed Puppy here. The kibbles are really small and the puppies have an easy time eating. If you can't find the toy breed, because it can be hard to find, the small breed puppy is also okay. But this handout talks about a seminar that my husband and I went to. We learned a lot about dog food, and this is why we chose the Purina Pro Plan line. And this is why we also hope that you choose the same line. So that's as important. This talks about vitamins that we feed here. So I send you home with enough for 8 days. So what you'll do with those vitamins is you'll cut them into 1/4, and then you'll squish them between 2 spoons, and then you'll sprinkle it on their food every day. And the reason that we send you home with enough for a week is because it's the most stressful. Your puppy will be under the most stress that they'll probably ever be in their whole life. Transitioning into a new home, being taken away from everything they've ever known their whole life is extremely stressful. So these vitamins help keep their immune system strong so that you don't end up with things like pesky parasites or stress diarrhea. And so even if you choose not to buy the vitamins yourself, which I do strongly encourage, I urge you, please give them the vitamins that I send home with you. The next thing in your packet is this. So this is just a handout that I found on the internet that I feel like has a ton of good information, things that really aren't covered in the transition letter, just kind of a missing gap. So I really encourage you to read this. It's, I think, 4 pages long, if you count this as 1 page and this as 1 page. So it's kind of short, but it's got a lot of good information in it. The next thing you get is their health record. So every Yorkie puppy here gets 2 shots, their 6-week shot and their 9-week shot. After they leave here, they also need their 12-week shot and their 16-week shot, rabies shot. Every puppy here also gets dewormed every 2 weeks. So this is important. I do not keep a copy of this. The original goes home with you. So make sure you take this to their vet when you take them to their checkup, okay? Everybody also gets to go to the vet, to my vet before they leave. This is their health certificate. Your copy is pink, but you'll take that to the vet with you when you go as well. Everybody also gets a copy of our health guarantee contract. So I'll actually mail that to you before you arrive, but after you make your pickup appointment. So that'll have all your information on it. You'll be asked to sign it when you arrive. That just is our 1-year health guarantee. And then you'll also be asked to sign this. So this piece of paper is just a reiteration of our health guarantee contract, but I like to verbally say some things out loud in case you did not read the contract. Most people do, but some people don't have time. So on that piece of paper, the second one, basically I say out loud, your puppy has to go to the vet within 3 days of pickup, and then you mail me something back showing your puppy was seen at the vet. You cannot sell, rehome, or place my puppy in a shelter. If you cannot keep your puppy for any reason, it does have to come back to me. I take this part very seriously. My puppies are my puppies for life. So if you can't keep them, I do want them back. I would be absolutely mortified, and I do mean mortified, to find out that one of my puppies was in a shelter. I love my puppies no matter what. So I feel like if you were to drop them off in a shelter, they're going to feel unloved. They will always be loved here. I never want one of my puppies to feel like nobody loves them. They are always welcome back here no matter what. I won't ask you why. I don't care why. I want them back. And the last thing is that every puppy that leaves here has to be spayed or neutered. If you want breeding rights, you have to request that ahead of time. Breeding rights are scrutinized and screened in a different fashion, so those have to be requested beforehand. Otherwise, everybody has to be spayed or neutered. So that's the second sheet of paper that you sign. So I think that that's it. Yes, that's everything. So I just have one quick little disclosure since this is on the internet, and that is everything in this video is just my opinion based on my experience as a breeder since 2006. I'm not a vet. But I do think my experience counts for something. So I just want to say again, thank you for adopting from us. I really appreciate that you are coming to Iowa Yorkie Babies. I obviously could not live my dream without you, and I appreciate the fact that you entrust me to raise your baby. So I will see everyone in a couple weeks where we will introduce your baby to you for the first time. We'll see everyone soon. Bye, guys.